Hello, everybody. Um, my name is Michaela, and I'm so excited to see you all here today. We're here for the 2020 shortlist for the Wilderness Society's Environment Award for Children's Literature. As I said, my name is Michaela Jemison, and I'm here from the Wilderness Society, and it's so great to see everyone joining us here today. As more and more people are starting to join us on this feed, I first like to try and do an acknowledgement here for wherever you are today in this great country. We're meeting, working, and living on the lands of the original people of this land, and I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, and to extend all of that to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present here with us today on this live stream. So I'm so excited to have so many of you join us here today for the 26th year of these awards, celebrating excellence in children's nature books. Give us a shout out from wherever you are watching today down in the comments below. We'd love to hear where you're from. And also, if you've got any questions as we go through with our lovely judges, make sure you throw those comments in. And to start kicking us off right today, I'd like to join our very first judge, Rove McManus. Hello.
Hello, Michaela. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us, Rove.
This is very exciting.
It is, isn't it? Going live from our individual abodes at home.
Yes, and I don't even have a book in the running this year, but I'm still very excited to be able to share with everyone who has made the list this year. And I'm sure there's a lot of people watching who are very excited to find out if they're on there.
Exactly. And you know what? That's the other thing. Many people know that you're a bit of a TV star here at home, but actually also an illustrator and author as well.
That is true. I have released a couple of kids' books, one for younger readers called Disgusting Grossface, and for the 8 and above readers, I have a series of books called Rocky Lobster. Oh, there we go.
Ooh, promo plug.
Called Rocky to the Rescue, and book 2 is coming soon called Time Travel Tangle, and that's available for pre-order now. But look, the adventures of a sideshow carnival performing Lobster Boy doesn't carry a very strong environmental message, but he does have a pet sea pig that eats compost, and he recycles. So there's at least a mention of that in there.
Okay, well, I'm not quite sure we can all do that at home in terms of environmental things to do, but...
Well, how many people watching now have a sea pig? Please, shout out. I need to know.
Put it in the comments. We'll find out. Yes. We've got some people coming in. We've got Lee in Brisbane. Hello. How are you doing? Who else?
Big fan, Lee. Big fan.
We've got Michael here. Cheers from Brisbane as well. A lot of Brisbane and Adelaide happening too. And Tria on Wurundjeri country in Melbourne. Thank you, Tria. So, yes. Rove, I've got to ask, what was your favourite book, particularly a nature book, as when you were a kid? And for those watching, chuck it in the comments what your favourite books are too.
Well, I had a great big book. It was called The Golden Book of Australian wildlife. It was like my first ever reference book for Australian animals, which I won as part of a prize at school. And I still have it now somewhere. In fact, give me 1 second. Don't panic.
I've lost the judge.
There we go. The Golden Book of Australian Birds and Mammals. Look at that.
Oh, classic.
Look at that. Look at that splendid fairy wren on the top. And a kangaroo, of course. Very dog-eared pages. I cherished this book as a kid. And another one that I have been surprisingly found later in life was the Lorax, Dr. Seuss's Lorax, which reading it for my daughter, I realised carries a much greater environmental message than I ever realised, actually. So that's another one that has kind of become a bit of a favourite in our household.
So are you doing the original book, or have you straight over into the movie?
Oh, no, not into the movie. We're with the book, absolutely. Not, I think, the original book. I don't know if I have an original print of that. That would probably cost a lot of money right now.
Well,
but
yes,
I have
true.
reprint 167, I think.
Well, we've got a couple of people answering what their favourite was. Here we've got Julie Murphy, Dingo, Walker books. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
I prefer perfectly. There was a book about dolphins in particular when I was a kid. I think, like many young girls, had dreams of being a marine biologist. Ended up working on bats instead, so I'm not sure how that happened. But anyway.
A lot of people make that turn.
Yes.
There was also a book as a kid that I had about gorillas.
Ah,
And when I was in year 5, I think it was, I was fascinated with gorillas. They were still a very enigmatic animal. In many ways still are. But I actually got to trek to see gorillas in Africa, in Rwanda and in Uganda about 5 or 6 years ago. And was just an incredible experience. And the inner child in me that remembered having that book to actually be in the wild with gorillas was something I never thought I'd get to experience. So that was a very, very cool thing.
yeah, that sounds like one of those bucket list items for many people. Getting
They're not
close.
bats, Michaela.
Sorry.
They're not bats.
No.
Yeah,
For
there's no chance
regular
of finding
Wilderness
a huge
Society
pile of
viewers.
gorilla dung like when you go looking with bats.
Yeah, I for regular Wilderness Society viewers, they will know that I'm a bit of a bat aficionado myself. So that's something that hopefully one day, Rove, I'll take you to go see some pretty cool bats. What do you reckon?
That would be great. And Michaela, would you like to tell everybody what is the scientific term for bat poo?
You're turning the tables on me, Rove. I'm supposed to be the host, not you. Guano is the scientific term. I think most people would know that, hopefully. So
you are now everyone's favourite quiz night friends. They have a new name.
okay. Well, Rove, I'm going to turn it back on you because today we're not only going live out to our Wilderness Society Facebook page, but also your own. And you've got a couple of your fans coming in. You've got Kirsten here saying, "Hey, Rove," in very big, long hey, from Wellington, New Zealand, of all places.
Wow, that's great. I was meant to be in New Zealand quite a bit this year, but when everything shut down with COVID-19, it has prevented me from being there as much as I would like. So a big shout out to New Zealand. I love my Kiwi fans. They've been very good to me over the years. And if anyone in New Zealand is watching this, please hug John Campbell. You know what that means.
Okay.
For anyone else, I'm afraid you're not in the club and you'll just have to Google it.
I'm going to have to be one of those people. I'm not that cool, I'm afraid.
New Zealand has great animals too. Like they love a flightless bird.
Oh, but Rove, let me lay down some bat knowledge on you. They've got about the only species of bat in the world that actually crawl on the ground to get their food.
It's everything in their country crawls around at the ground.
Yeah.
The birds don't fly. The bats don't. The fish probably don't swim there.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. Everything else is so topsy-turvy. It's great. I do love New Zealand, so a big shout-out to everybody there who's watching.
Yeah. We also have a shout-out on your page here as well from Brizzy. Charlene says hello from Brizzy. So thank you,
hi,
Charlene.
Brizzy.
And we also have we've got Mel from Wurundjeri Country here watching on the Facebook Live for the Wilderness Society. Hi, Mel.
Hey, Mal.
Maureen Swift. It's also guano is used to be a mild, friendly abuse as we were kids. All right, thanks, Maureen, for giving me schooling on how you use the term guano. That's fantastic. So basically, I would really love to get to know a little bit more about your background as an author and an illustrator, because, Rove, you did some drawings for us very recently promoting the Environment Awards as well.
Yes, for anyone who has been watching my Doodle a Day videos, there was one that I posted a couple of days ago, which started just as something to keep me entertained and out of trouble while in lockdown, where I said anyone can request anything and I'll do a doodle a day. And before I knew it, I was doing about 7 a day. So yes, this was from Lily. She wanted 2 Tasmanian devils enjoying a high tea. And I made sure every one of these was reading a book. So this one, the one on the left is reading a book called Tea Tales, and the one on the right is reading a book called Vicious Koalas and Where to Find Them. The subheading, which is Who's Laughing Now?
So vicious kookaburras, I think, rather than koalas.
Oh, did I say koalas? I meant vicious kookaburras. Yeah, sorry.
Well, I mean, koalas can be vicious too as well, but I personally love this one.
Yeah, Harry, who has an awesome head of hair, which is why I gave this platypus an equally awesome head of hair. He just wanted a wakeboarding platypus. Pretty straightforward. And this one is reading the book Extreme Monotrings, as that is what he is.
All right. Well, I think I'm having a struggling to choose between which book I really want to read more, Extreme Monotremes or Vicious Kookaburras. But
look, I think, wouldn't we all like to know how many extreme monotremes there are out there? But I think it's important to have a book called Vicious Kookaburras and where to find them, because I didn't even know there were vicious kookaburras. We've got a resident kookaburra in our backyard. I thought it was perfectly fine, as long as you're not a lizard.
Yeah, that's particularly true. So
everything in perspective, Michaela.
Exactly. We have another comment coming in from your fans, Rove, on Facebook. Imagine my pleasant surprise to make a rare trip to Facebook and see my former boss live. Hope all is well, good with you, and could really use you over here. Someone called Craig.
Oh, well, hello, Craig. That's Craig. I thought it was going to be Peter Hellier for a minute there. Well, Craig, I hope you're well. I've worked with quite a few Craigs, so I don't know if we want to give away Craig's identity, but look, I am very glad to hear from you, Craig, and hope you are well.
Yeah.
Especially with everything that's going on. I don't even know if any of us have a job anymore, Craig.
No, I hope Craig is employed now, as I would do everyone else as well. One thing, love to talk a little bit more about nature and books here, Rove. What excites you most about particularly the Environment Awards for Children's Literature and being involved this year?
Well, I think it's an important message to get out there. We, as a family in our household, we try to do what we can, and we're very focused on the environment, especially, my daughter is 6 and she's very aware of the world around her and how important it is for her generation to be the custodians of what comes next. And even we live near the ocean, and it's a very important thing for us. Every time we go down, in a positive way, we take a bag with us that we can take rubbish home with us. We try to grab as much stuff as we can. It's kind of before we leave, what was going to be we'll just take an item each became we'll grab as many as we can. It's quite sad that you can actually collect a bag of rubbish very easily. And I've had a connection with Taronga Zoo here in Sydney, and was part of a turtle rescue, and the amount of plastics of different kinds and things that you don't really think about, like balloons, party balloons, when you let them go and they float over the ocean and then just pop, they just end up in the ocean. And a lot of that can end up inside a turtle's stomach, of course. Fishing lines we all know about, and all those sorts of plastics as well. But my daughter Ruby came along, and we got to see this turtle be returned to the wild that had come in with all this rubbish in its belly. So it's something that we see as very important, but also then realize, well, how can we get this message out there? It's one thing to go, here's our little person that we're going to send out into the world with this wonderful message of protecting the environment. But when you realize, there are books out there that can help inspire her and other kids like her, that's really what it's all about. It's about future generations. And it's not an easy thing to do, to educate and entertain, but we have a lot of books on the shortlist this year that have done just that in both fiction and non-fiction. So when I was asked to be part of this, I leapt at it for sure.
Yeah, and we're so glad that you are, taking the time to read all of the books on this shortlist this year. We actually had over 70 books actually submitted to the award.
Tough, isn't it, then to whittle it down?
Yeah, it really has been tough. And the great thing is we have some help in that. We have we had basically, when this was started, we had a bunch of, really talented librarians and things come to us and want to do this. So we have, these books have been very carefully read through and whittled down to a very few select 10, which I'm really keen for you to potentially announce. I know there's some people waiting on the edges of the seats for the non-fiction category this year.
Well, wait on your seats no more. You can now fall off those seats. So the positive of that is, as much as, of course, the downside being that there will be some that won't make the list this year, to think that there is more than enough in each category. We're not struggling to create a shortlist. It's not a very, very short list, which is wonderful to think that there are that many books out there, far too many for just every single one to get a nomination, is a great sign of the future. And for anyone who's watching this, who isn't involved in maybe being part of one of these books, go grab them. Any one of these titles from any category, go out, read them, share them, tell people about them, because that's what's going to make sure that books like this stay out there. It's one thing for them to exist, but it's also important that people buy them, share their message, and that we can have more of them in the future.
Yeah, and in the comments below, we will actually put links to where you can all buy the shortlist too. So from Glee Books this year.
How amazing.
I know. It's like, we had thought of that already.
You are good.
So what's on our shortlist here today, Rove, for non-fiction?
I don't want this pressure. Don't put this on me. Okay. The first, I'm going to be announcing the non-fiction category.
Yes.
So this is the ones that aren't fiction. There we go. I've done my homework. Not made up stories. Here we go. The first.
In no particular order.
No particular order. It is You Can Change the World.
Ah, nice.
You can. Written by Lucy Bell, illustrated by Astrid Hicks, and designed by Alyssa Kaplan. Look at this wonderful, there's some amazing artwork in here, graph pages and things like that. It's a really great book. Lots of different ways that you can get out and do your little bit.
Yeah, so there's actually quite a lot of activities in that book, isn't there?
Beg your pardon?
There's activities and things that people can do. It's very practical.
A great little how-to guide. Everything from, if you want to grow vegetables, make your own little garden, getting chickens, helping out bees, how to recycle, all sorts of things. It's a really great user's guide.
Nice.
You Can Change the World. I love it.
And what's next on our list?
Next on the list, this one I really love. It is called Fauna, Australia's Most Curious Creatures by Tanya Maconie. We have some truly amazing, bizarre creatures. I mean, everyone can say, oh, yeah, sure, we know we have apparently vicious kookaburras and things like that. I love a cassowary.
The cassowaries are just one of those crazy looking animals. I think we saw some of them in the preview roll before today's live.
Yeah. So, I mean, we all know about platypus. We all know about echidna. We've got so many amazing endemic species here that I think sometimes we take them for granted. I know earlier in the year when we had our terrible bushfires, the idea that our koala population was going to be decimated was such a sobering idea to think, here are these creatures that maybe sometimes we take for granted. I lived in Los Angeles in the US for a long, long time, and the idea that there was such a thing as koalas, the LA Zoo had a special exhibit where they had some koalas on loan from Australia, and the line to go and see koalas was like you're at the Adelaide Zoo and there's pandas all of a sudden. It was so long, and I felt a little bit proud of that. I'm very proud of our wildlife. And this book, congratulations, you've made the list.
Yeah, well done. And so what's next on our list?
Well, next on our list is by Abby Mitchell. It is A Hollow is a Home.
Oh, I love this one. I mean, that's the thing about some of these books is being able to really share with young kids about how important trees are as homes to lots of different endemic species.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really great example of what a non-fiction book can be too. You've got really great, user-friendly illustrations like this one. Slide across there. But also, there's great, there's graphs and all sorts of things and photos as well. It's part field guide, part information booklet. We have put around our house, we have nesting boxes. We had a guy who comes in and his job is to look around your property and see where your trees are and all the different spaces where you can put nesting boxes for everything from microbats Hello, Michaela.
Yeah, I was going to make sure
Sparrows,
you mentioned that, Rove.
They have a little. The microbat box has a little ladder at the bottom of it. Its hole is at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and it has like a little mesh ladder so they can land on it and climb up.
Yep. I mean, because bats need actually space to drop, so they can drop and fly out. You see, they can't just take off like birds.
Of course, you know that.
Of course, I know that. Sorry, just throwing another bit of bat stuff on you.
It's a great example of just how the idea of a simple tree, and one that maybe has long since passed on itself, but a hollow in a tree can offer so much to the environment around it. And it also makes mention, I don't want to spoil it too much, makes mention in this book of one of my favourite birds, the hornbill, that when it goes and makes its nest, it puts mud on the front of the hole to protect the chicks inside.
Oh, really?
And it just has the tiniest little opening so that when the chicks hatch, they can poo, they fire it outside the nest so it doesn't make a mess in their hollow.
So you have to keep an eye out below, basically, for that.
Yeah. And how many parents watching now wish that they could teach their kids that, huh?
Well, as the parent of a 2-year-old, I would agree with that one.
So Abby Mitchell is the author, and Astrid Hicks has done the illustrations inside. A Hollow is a Home, another great one. It's tough. Lovely. It's tough, and this is just the non-fiction list.
I think we have one more to go.
We do, which is a coincidence because I have one here. Finally, it is Explore Your World, Weird, Wild, Amazing with an exclamation mark. Tim Flannery, the man, the myth. There it is, with Sam Caldwell doing the illustrations. And you'll be very pleased with this, Michaela. We have a bat on the back.
I am extremely happy about that.
This is one of these sorts of books that as a kid, I would have loved to have this on my shelf. It is, look, that was just meant to be fate that I opened this page up. Just great fun facts about so many different animals. It's broken up into like different types of environments that they live in, and like this will keep any kid or even adult engaged for hours and hours on ends. Just I mean, I don't know where to start, but it is chock full of great fun facts.
You're going to have a hard time choosing, I think, some winners from all of these books this year.
Absolutely.
We've got Doris here, who's also put in a comment here. I have a lot of great nephews and nieces. She'd love all of these books. I'm sure, well, you can get them in the links below, Doris, if you want to purchase them as well and read along with our judges.
Do it, Doris. You know you want to.
Rove, we also have another hello coming in from Hong Kong from your Facebook site, from Cats in Hong Kong.
Well, hello. I didn't even know I had a Facebook friend in Hong Kong.
Well, there you are. Well, Rove,
well, I'm sure these books are making you miss home. So I hope you're doing well in Hong Kong.
Well, Rove, we'll say goodbye to you just for a little moment. You'll be back. So everyone who's watching, please, if you have any questions or comments or just a hello to any of our judges, me too, please put them in the comments below and we'll get to them towards the end of the broadcast.
I'll just keep reading. You talk amongst yourselves.
I'll see you later, Rove. I would really love to bring in our second judge right now, Dr. Jen Martin. Hello, Jen.
Hi, Michaela. It's so exciting to be here, but it's hard to sit still because I kind of have all of those books that Rove just talked about beside me, and I just want to read them more now because they're so good.
It is very tempting, isn't it, right now? So, Jen, I just wanted to share with our viewers here that you're a senior lecturer in science communication at the University of Melbourne. And so you're really teaching our next generation of scientists how to communicate. What's that like?
Yeah, that's the aim. Well, I mean, I'm an ecologist by training, so I spent many years following animals around in the wild, trying to understand what they were doing and why they were doing it. So I'm really a nature girl at heart. But I don't know, somewhere along the way, I just started to realise that even if we had all this wonderful knowledge about our wildlife, how are we ever going to conserve them and look after our planet if we couldn't get the scientific knowledge from the scientists to everybody else? So I kind of took a bit of a slight turn along the path about 10 years ago and decided that I'd be far more useful. As much as I loved being in nature and being a researcher, I'd be far more useful to the world if I helped other scientists to, not sound so much like scientists, I guess.
Oh, come on, we're not all that bad, surely.
Of course not. There's heaps of amazing science communicators out there, but traditionally as a science student, you don't necessarily get taught how to write and how to speak in ways that are going to get other people excited about your science, and I think that's pretty important.
Well, we here at the Wilderness Society, we're really excited about the science of nature and environmental science. And so you yourself, being a conservationist and a science communicator, what excites you about books and nature and these awards?
I just think it is so wonderful that we are supporting our writers and our illustrators to do what they do best. I mean, imagine a world where we didn't have books to share the beauty and the stories that can just stay with us forever. I was listening to Rove talking before about the Lorax and about his beautiful golden book, and I don't know, I think if you're a kid who's lucky enough to grow up in a house full of books like I was, those stories stay with you and they have the power to change your whole life. And I don't know if I would have ended up devoting my life to trying to preserve nature and help other researchers to do that if I hadn't, grown up just with these incredible stories around me. So these awards are so important to recognise authors and illustrators out there who are fighting the good fight, I think, for the future of the planet.
I so agree with that. I mean, I would love to know what your favourite book growing up and what really influenced you to go down that path of science, communication and environmental science as well. But to all our viewers and right now, if you've got a question or, just share with us your particular love of nature books or maybe your kids' love of books right now. We'd love to hear them and share them with our judges. So, Jen, what was your particular favourite growing up?
I don't know if I had one, and I knew you were going to ask me this, and I really racked my brain, and I do kind of get confused between the books that I loved as a child and the books that my kids now love and that I read with my kids. But it might not be very PC, but I reckon one of my favourite books when I was growing up was actually the Famous Five series. Just bear with me. There are things about Famous Five that, I do have concerns with nowadays. But at the end of the day, it was about a group of kids being independent, out in nature, exploring. And that really stuck with me, that sense of nature is not out there separate to us. Nature is kind of something we're in all the time.
They were. I was a big Famous Five fan as well, I must admit. And I particularly like the messages that we can get from a lot of books nowadays, like that power that we can... Like, young people do have the power to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I was also very lucky to grow up in a family. Both my parents are major nature lovers, and my dad actually grew up in South Africa, and he moved to Australia to study Australian wildlife. And so a lot of my childhood memories are actually him telling stories about growing up surrounded by African wildlife. And, he had pet bush babies when he was growing up, and his parents were very tolerant of him bringing wildlife into the home. So I think for me, a lot of it was actually, real storytelling rather than reading. It was talking about his experiences growing up, and I think that led into kind of the Rudyard Kipling. Everyone's heard of the Jungle Book, maybe not everyone's heard of the Just So stories.
Yeah,
but they were part of my childhood as well. I don't know, books and nature were probably the two biggest features of my childhood, I think.
That's fantastic. We actually have a comment coming in here from Virginia. She says, woohoo, what a great lineup of books so far. Well, we're only going to put more on that list right now, aren't we, Jen?
Oh, you bet. I'm so excited. And I'm so excited I get to announce the picture books. We had a really interesting conversation this morning. Since we've all been on lockdown, one of my favourite parts of the day has been my whole family walking our puppy every morning. We've got some beautiful bushland not far from our house. And this morning I was explaining to the kids, who are very much taking on part of the role of doing this judging. We've divvied up the books. We're all reading them. And my son said, I probably don't have as much to say about the picture books because, I'm a bit older than that audience now. He's 12. And I said, well, do you reckon? I actually think picture books are some of the most profound books that stay with you your whole life. And for me, I don't know, when I first walk into a bookstore these days, I think I go to the picture book section first before anything else. So thank you for allowing me the honour of announcing these books, because I don't know how on earth you would have chosen.
Oh, look, we didn't do it alone, let me tell you. There was quite a process up until this point. So we're really happy that you get to read the shortlist and try to have the unenviable task of trying to figure out who will be our winners. So without more to do, let's announce the picture fiction category.
All right, so I'm so delighted to announce that the first one I want to tell you about is One Tree, which is, I have to go this way. No, this way.
It's all right,
One
it's on
Tree
screen.
by Christopher Cheng and Bruce Watley. And this book is just gorgeous. It's a story about family and generations and living in a city and hope, how you maintain hope when things feel lost, and really about the power of growing plants and how we can bring green back into our urban spaces, and the joy that nature brings to our lives. And it's just really heartfelt and beautiful, and these incredible lino cut illustrations, and yeah, highly recommend it. Everyone should go and read this book. It's really quite beautiful.
Oh, that's fantastic. And look, for everyone who is watching, if you are interested in buying any of the books that we are listing up here today, you can find the links in our comments below. This is fantastic. And what I believe there's 4 in this category. So what else is on next on your list?
The next one is absolutely heartbreaking, and I have to admit I did shed a tear, but that isn't to say you shouldn't read it, it's to say you should read it. I'm really delighted to announce Christina Booth's One Careless Night has made it onto our shortlist, and stunningly illustrated. Oh my goodness, I want some of these to put up on my wall framed, but just this incredibly heartbreaking story of Benjamin, who was the last ever Tasmanian tiger. So we don't actually know whether Benjamin was male or female. Christina has chosen to write about Benjamin as a girl, and it's basically the story of she was brought into the wild, into Hobart Zoo, and she died alone in the freezing cold one night when her keeper forgot to allow her into her shelter. And that happened on the 7th of September 1936, and that date now marks National Threatened Species Day, the day that we all stand back and think, oh my goodness, what have we done to our wildlife in Australia? And oh my goodness, there's just some lines in here that cut straight through. There's a line, she forgets that she's tiger, and I'm just bawling my eyes about this beautiful Tasmanian tiger left alone in the zoo, and illustrations. Oh my goodness, wait till you see them.
It's such a beautiful book. And the other thing, it's such an interesting thing that, we chose this week to announce the list, where I know I think it was one of the National Archives released some unseen footage of Tasmanian tigers just this week as well. So, I mean, beautiful, beautiful book, and I'm so glad that it's on the list. Is there one that has a little bit more of an up feel coming on the list?
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited to tell you about Willem, which I didn't know, but Willem means home in the Woiwurrung language. And Willem is written by Auntie Joy Murphy and Andrew Kelly, and illustrated by Lisa Kennedy. And Auntie Joy Murphy is a senior elder of the Wurundjeri people, so here in Melbourne where I am. And this book is incredible. I mean, the illustrations just blow your mind. And it's essentially the story of the Birrarung, otherwise known as the River of Mists, otherwise known as the Yarra River. And it's about all the wildlife that live along the Yarra and that call the Yarra home, from the Central Highlands down to Melbourne. And there's ones that you might have, heard of before. So there's Bunjil, the wedge-tailed eagle, but then we learn the language for all of these species that I'm so familiar with that I'd never heard the proper Indigenous terms for before. So Yangai is the yellow-tailed black cockatoo, which I saw this morning.
That's great. And it's so beautifully illustrated as well. Like I've had a flip through myself, and the illustrations are just gorgeous. So
yeah, I want these illustrations on my wall too. Can we just hold up one of these? Look at this.
That's cool. You might have to bring it over a little bit for us to see, but oh, fantastic. So we'll move on to the last one in this category.
All right, the last one is by none other than Oliver Jeffers, and we have The Fate of Fausto. And this book is pretty incredible. This is the first one I read with my kids, and we read it and just kind of went, whew. Okay, Okay, so it's a modern day fable, and it starts with the line, "There was once a man who believed he owned everything and set out to survey what was his."
Oh my goodness.
And really, it's just about this Fausto who thinks he owns nature and tries to convince nature that he understands it and loves it, and of course he doesn't. And it's this fable about what happens when we don't attempt to truly understand and respect nature. And it's just, the perfect modern day fable for our times, and incredible printmaking. I mean, how on earth, guys, how are we going to choose? These 4 books are mind-blowing, and this is just one category.
I'm not envious of your job, let me say that.
So congratulations to everyone who's made this shortlist. Your books are just stunning. Thank you for your incredible work writing and illustrating these books.
Well, and thank you for taking on this role. We really, as the Wilderness Society and the greater book community, really do appreciate it. I am going to just leave you, Jen, for a little minute. You can have a little read while we're waiting, and I'll throw up the which I forgot to do last time, but that's okay. Throw up those books that we just mentioned here. And again, as I mentioned previously, any of these books you can go and find to purchase themselves in some of the links we have below. I am now going to introduce our third and last judge, David Lawrence. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Michaela, how are you?
I'm very, very good. So, David, you actually are our third judge and our previous winner from last year.
That's right. It was an absolutely massive thrill, and I just know how exciting it is for these people being nominated now. Maxie, my co-author, and I, and Peter Ballwood, the illustrator, when we found out we were on the shortlist, it was just massive news. It meant so much to us, and I know it means so much to these other authors, these other wonderful authors today. Yeah,
so you won with Maxie the Lifeguard, The Stormy Protest, and that's something you have written with, now it's Bondi Rescue, Trent Maxwell as well?
Trent Maxwell from Bondi Rescue, the youngest ever lifeguard, I think, on the show, and really passionate. And we got together to write the books about saving lives, to stop the drownings that are happening every summer. And when we sat down to brainstorm the book, we sort of both realised we were both passionate about the environment. And so we decided one of the books really needed to be dedicated to that, and get that message out to kids, and to let kids know that they can change and make people listen and change things themselves. And that was the goal of that book. And it was just wonderful to win that award, because it meant that we were making a difference. So wonderful.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And just before I ask you about your own personal favourite nature books when you were young, we actually have a couple comments coming in here. We have Lily here. I grew up on the east coast of the US, and I love the book Blueberries for Sa. Okay, that's not one I am familiar with, Lily, but it sounds amazing. We also have a comment from Ali coming from Rove's Facebook. Hi, everyone who's watching us on Rove's Facebook live here at the moment. Lee says, I had a set of tiny books about fairies who lived in the bottom of the garden. I think that's the other thing. Like, nature and magic are so intertwined at times in our own imaginations. For me, I think that's one of the things that draws us to it. What about you, David?
Well, I'm really, really old. So I go way back to when all books were politically incorrect. And, Snuggly Pot and Cuddly Pie was one of my first books I ever remember seeing. And to me, the only thing about the book I remember is the vivid drawings. And I think my love for the Australian came from those early, seeing those books. And then after that, the Magic Faraway Tree, again, self-determination, kids getting out there and doing their own thing. I love that theme in books. And I think most of my other influences, though, really come from parents. And Rove mentioned before how his kids go to the beach and pick up rubbish. My mum, when we go anywhere travelling, we'd stop for a picnic lunch and we would clean up wherever we'd been. We'd pick up rubbish. And that gets drilled in you from a young age. And I think that has a huge impact as well.
I think another thing that's really interesting about a lot of the books that are coming in on the shortlist this year, there is a bit of humour in some of these books. And I know you, like Rove, have a comedy background as well. How hard is it to write a book with combining that, kind of maybe a more serious nature message, or just trying to get nature into the hands of kids with a bit of humour?
I think the humour, the reason you have the humour there is to really get kids wanting to read it and turning the pages and having a laugh. So I think you can still have a serious topic, like in our case, people that were polluting Bondi Beach and and still have comical characters, and just even highlighting people's ignorance can be funny in itself as well, and making the villains really losers, really, and just not nice people. I think that helps as well. But I think having comedy there, getting kids to want to read and want to laugh, and all of a sudden they've read this book and they've got this great environmental message, or whether it's about bullying or anything, reading should be enjoyable, not just preachy. That's my view anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree too. I'm sure a lot of our readers do as well. So you have the great honour today of sharing with us the nominated titles for the shortlisted titles for the fiction.
That's right. And the first book shortlisted in the 2020 fiction category is Eco Rangers, Microbat Mayhem by Candice Lemon-Scott with illustrations from Asker. And this is, and I think we touched on this before as well, just a wonderful combination of a cracking good read that's also educational. I mean, I learned heaps about microbats.
I swear I had nothing to do with the shortlist.
Yeah, it's being a bit suspicious, I think. But I even learned how to help a baby microbat go to the toilet, and it involves a cotton tip. But there's little useful tips like that you pick up through the book. It's really easy to read. There's humour in the book, as I flagged before. There's also excitement, so you really want to get to the end. And it's all about two young kids, two great friends who live next door to each other, who are out there trying to make a difference to the environment. And that's such an important message. Again, kids can make a difference. People do listen to kids. And I'd encourage all the kids that are out there on the feed, you can make a difference, and I'd encourage you to do so. And so I'd encourage you to read this book by Candice Lemon-Scott, illustrated by Asker. Congratulations.
Yeah, well done. That's such a great book. And I think there's one more in this category this year.
There is, and it's by Gavin Ung Tan, and it's called Super Sidekicks Book 2, Ocean's Revenge. Spoiler alert, the ocean really does get some serious revenge. But again, this book is just fabulous. The artwork, I'll just open up. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
It is amazing artwork. It's like a giant comic, but very sophisticated. There's heaps of superhero action. It's funny. There's gags all the way through it, but there's also a huge call to action at the end, which I absolutely love and recommend everyone to read that. Keeping our oceans clear of things like plastic is such an important message. And I know Maxie and I, with our book, that's what we really wanted. The oceans are special to a lot of people, and we can all do our bit to save that. But this book is a must read because it really does make you think, and hopefully make a lot of adults think as well as kids. And that's what I really love about this, but it really nails that message.
Yeah. And I think that would probably, I was not surprised it might appeal to you having such an ocean focus with your books as well. So that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you, Dave. Oh, look, I know we're so happy to have you part of the awards this year. Particularly, it's always great to have a winner also being one of our judges, because you've been through the process. You know what it's like. So thank you so much for being a part of it this year.
No, absolutely thrilled to be part of it, and best of luck to all the nominations.
All right, so I'm going to bring all of our judges back. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, indeed.
All right, fantastic. So that we have our full list for 2020. Now it's kind of off to you guys to go off and read those books and make those hard decisions. Do you feel up to it?
Look, I'm willing to really get into those, the picture fiction. As much as it sounds quite sad to think about the last thylacine, but also, David, you and I, we like our comedy, and so if you're recommending some good comic book style readers, then count me in. You will love it, Rove. You will love it. It's right down your alley.
Well, and the other thing I think we've got to say to all of our viewers out there is, like, go get these books, but also share them with the people that you love to share reading with. So I've got one here, Super Sidekicks, and I'm going to share it right now with David. So David, if you like it, here. Yep. Sure. There we go.
Look, while we're on it, Jen, I have some of your shortlist. I'm not sure how many you have of mine. I'm going to get you to have a look at Weird, Wild, and Amazing. I highly recommend the weird part. So there, take that. Enjoy.
Thanks, Rove.
Wow, she's quick.
We did it much better in rehearsal, but yeah, look, I'm excited about this one. As a zoologist, I want to know more about weird, wild, and amazing animals. So thanks for sharing. Nice.
You are most welcome.
And everybody, we actually have one of our authors who've just commented here, Candace Lemon Scott, right here. She's the author of Microbat Mayhem. Wow, thanks so much. Thrilled to have Microbat Mayhem recognized in these awards. Well, you're welcome, Candace. So
congratulations.
Yeah.
Candace, I read it, loved it, absolutely loved it. It is brilliant. Well done.
We also have a couple more comments coming in. We've got Barbara here. So Barbara says that I have a copy of You Can Change the World already. It's easy to read and has some great practical action types of activities. That book was bought at Target in Launceston in Tasmania. So yeah, thanks. Awesome.
You just passed it to me.
Much more effectively than I took it before.
Look, there's a lot in this book to get through, but it's one of those ones that, much like the Weird, Wild, Amazing, I can't ever see it being something, once you have it, that you will ever move on from. You'll get to the end and just go back to the start again. Just so many useful tips and very everyday, especially for young readers. It's a great idea. So I'm not surprised that this is already out there in people's hands.
We have a few more comments I'd love to share with you guys. We've got one from Julie Murphy. Excellent choice of books. What great messages to be passed on to kids. Best of luck to the judges with their very tough job. Lovely memories of being shortlisted last year.
Those losers. Oh, wait.
And we also have another author who's tuned in, Tanya Maconie of Fauna. She's thrilled to have Fauna shortlisted. Thank you so much, wonderful people. Love your work.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Well, I'm going to leave you all now to have that very hard job of sitting down and reading with your family all those books. The awards will actually, winners of the Environment Award for Children's Literature will be announced in September. So keep an eye out for when that exact date.
So we don't need to have all these read by tomorrow.
You have a bit of time, Rove. It's okay.
Thanks. Good.
I think we'll give you a couple weeks at least.
I was a little worried.
Just one last reminder before we close. We have some links below if you want to learn more about the awards, if you would like to see where you can actually get the books yourself. Other than that, we would love to catch up with you guys maybe, potentially, when we announce the awards again. You can announce the winners. But until then, thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right. I will leave you all with a copy of the awards happening right now. Thank you for everyone out in Facebook, on Rove's Facebook page and on the Wilderness Society's Facebook page. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Happy reading.
All right.
What do we do?